Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome to. Well, this is not going to be a live session, so sorry if you've come up. This is messing around on a Friday afternoon. Um, it's pre recorded, sorry. Um, the reason why it's pre recorded and not real live session is today because I have a meeting um, on Friday that with lawyers doing. To be honest with you, I'm in the middle of a kind of a warfare with my department over something, an evaluation that was done unfairly, and the lawyers are involved now because the feminist Nazis, the feminist Nazis use their position on a committee to use a administrative review as a weapon, and that's all because the election has happened, and therefore all the haters, the Polish election went badly. I mean, they won the majority. The populist former government won the not the majority, but they won the largest vote. But what happened was all the other parties of the left and the klepto PO and coalition forces under Tusk with the radical left and the lying middle of the PSL whores who sell their vote to whoever pays them, plus the fake opposition to PO by the likes within Petrol and those guys. They all joined they're all going to be it hasn't formed yet. The new government hasn't formed yet until that. It still probably won't be formed until late December, as the old government still has the outgoing government still having the majority right to try to form a government, but that is not going to happen. But all of the forces of the progressive woke are now, oh, yeah, we want to affect them. And they revealed their claws. And particularly those in the university are feeling their claws too. I would love, this is the problem. I wish the progressive, I wish to God the PIS government was the monsters that the left accused them of being. This is always the case that the left always projects their own evils on the populist right. Uh, uh, it's just amazing in that sense. And my director was being nice about it, but they're nice. They're cowards. The center are cowards. The center are basically just cowards in the sense, and I'm just kind of this is exactly what Jordan Peterson says, that once you get attacked or try to be canceled by them, and it was using students. There was activist students trying to do things, and the use of uh, accusations that you don't have the right to confront your when things are done anonymously, you can't confront your accusers. I have two. I mean, I wish to God all our courses were fucking recorded. I have two of my courses recorded. Thank God, and I have two more, and I have recordings of two more. I wish I recorded all my fucking courses, because that's the only way you can protect yourself against false accusations of these people. Okay, they make accusations, and if you say go watch the course, it's there. But they wouldn't do that, because if they were recorded, the radical woke left, if they were recording, the people saw what they were teaching kids in school and teaching in universities, there'd be mass. They would be wanting them to end. No, I favor all courses being recorded. It's the only way that people can be protected. Transparency. So since these are publicly paid institutions, everything should be recorded. Sorry. Oh, that's Stalinistic. No, it isn't. It's the only way to protect people. Because otherwise, what happens is false accusations are made, and you can't. False accusations are made, anonymous false accusations that are made, and there's no way to validate them. Oh, these were student reports, so we have to take them. Yeah, okay, nonsense. This is it's. I'm at one level you demoralize. They want to demoralize you. They want to destroy you. And what you need to do is you need to fight back always. Okay, this is why did I come over to Europe? I mean, the American disease has gone to Eastern Europe. The universities here have gotten because they let the humanities get infested with the radical left and the cuckoos, the postmodern feminists, and who are activists, not scholars. Oh, but they say, but you're a right wing person. Yeah, but I don't project my fucking right wing political views as education. Oh, yes, you do, because you teach things conservatively. No, I look at the phenomena. I don't. Now, this is the funny thing. Right wingers are actually more fair to left wing students than left wingers are fair to right wing students these days. This is hilarious in that sense. I mean, I have students who will say very extremely left wing things. Do I punish them in their grades? No. I will point out when they have made factual statements that are wrong or bad arguments, which I'm supposed to do, but I'm not going to penalize them for this. So therefore, I think this is just a frigging outrageous thing that they've done, and by repeating on it, by in their document, all the members of the committee by reporting claims, anonymous claims, as facts in a official evaluation report. Every single teacher all the committee members who signed that have engaged in slander, and I will have to sue every single one of them. Really, that's what has to be done. Honestly, I'm sorry to talk about this now, but I'm venting, and I shouldn't. I should delete this. That's what I'm talking to a lawyer today for. We're going to the lawyer. We're going to be going to the lawyers, and the purpose of going to the lawyers is the what to do, how to do this, how to use the administrative law. Look at the way they broke procedures, how they didn't collect evidence correctly, how the committee engaged in research outside of the report sent to them to evaluate, how they members of the committee became kind of investigatory, and then went to people to get information that weren't recorded or properly developed, so someone could challenge it. Complete, all Polish law and EU law protects due process. Okay, so by the way this committee has acted, it has basically violated all rules of due process and proper procedure. Because they're academics and they're a bunch of idiots. Most of them, they're academics who don't really know how to don't understand administration. This is the problem with amateurs in administration. When you let amateurs run departments like the Polish system does, they have this game that we follow the procedures. Well, sorry, if you're gonna use if you're gonna use procedures, a procedural process to punish somebody, then you better follow those procedures correctly and do it right. Because if you've not, then sorry, everything you've done was invalid. And by the way, by putting such comments in an official report, public report, like you've done, you've committed slander and damages. Slander. Okay, so but that's it. I'm sorry, I'm vented. I talked 10 minutes more than I was going to. I wasn't going to say anything, but you have to understand why I'm not with you guys today. I apologize. They say you get canceled. You just talk too much. You just drop out. No, not gonna go quietly into the night. I will take them down. If they're going to do this, if they're going to try to ruin my life, I'm going to take them down. Maybe that's the thing. So therefore, today, what is about today? All this stuff. I'm sorry. That explains my mood. It explains a little bit of last Friday's live stream. I was at my mother's-in-law place, because that's when I got the warning. I just got the news like on Tuesday. They finally, no, Wednesday evening, because the committee chairman saw the committee chairman who's been a week late. Instead, I was supposed to be reported Sunday. only, I was told everything be ready by Sunday. No, no, no. But then at the RADA meeting, the online RADA meeting, or the institute meeting, he was present, and I think he felt guilty because he knew I knew this already, and therefore he hasn't done anything yet. So he wrote his letter saying it, and I kind of said, because he says it's a process. So I said, okay, why wasn't this? Okay, I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I'm saying I kind of said, I responded to some questions. I said, it would have been nice if you wrote this in English to me. I thought you were going to meet with me because this was, I was told, not just merely to get a letter saying how do I'm going to process. Then I actually read what was said and translated it from the Polish to that, which was horrible translation. And I don't, it said just shocking. It said things, and I was just outraged and just say, how did where do they get this information from? It's not in the information there. It's not in the thing that the department sent them. Where did they get they went to the sources? Well, okay, but why are they repeating something that's anonymous? That's not validated. That has been challenged. That would have been, if it was valid, it should have been investigated by the department, and it was, and there was no outcome because it was unsubstantiated comments. So sorry, that's, and therefore they're punishing me for something that the department found is okay. Double jeopardy. Okay. Um, that's why I was already like last week a little bit. I am still like. Um, what's up with the group readings? I'm this week just finished the first half. We still in the process of getting videos for Rousseau. Next week will be the last week of Rousseau videos. They'll be next week's will be the last two videos, Monday and Wednesday. The last two videos finishing up Rousseau's political economy. Of course, they'll continue they'll start next week. We'll start chapter 4 of dictatorship. Um, and then the week after that, the next 2 weeks, they'll be Monday through Thursday will be nonstop Schmidt things because I want to finish Schmidt. Because I think next week, in fact, most of the following week, not next week stuff, the following week's 4 Schmidt videos have been done, and I have to do only the last 4 videos, which finish the chapter 5, the final chapter. I'm not doing the appendices because the appendices are just really about the law, and it's too technical in terms of the Weimar Constitution. Um, it's also the appendix. In fact, this is interesting to see if you see like I said, I finally got this. Finally came. It came like on this week on Easter. Okay, so I got it on Easter. No, not Easter. Thanksgiving. A Thursday. There's no Thanksgiving here. Okay, but um, uh, and why it's interesting. The German edition is. I'm going to go check the translation to the German, simply because I've been noticing, as you know, in my thing, I've been noticing little issues with the translation. So I've been wanting to make sure that the translation was a fair translation of what was actually in the text. And it took a while. This was expensive, €40. €40 for a paperback. Talk about commitment to studies in that sense. Um, so yeah, that's that. Okay. Um, I'm still waiting for my, 2 articles out there that done. I have not done any. Oh, this past 2 weeks, I was hoping to get a lot of work done on my own writing, but all this crap from the university just threw wrenches in my ability to write. It's hard to really focus and hard to get writing done on my articles, my 2 or 3 articles that I have. They got some more. I have 3 articles out there that are kind of just a little more tweaking, a little more editing to get ready to be sent out. One about the small revolutions in American politics that changed the American regime. I need to add more detail to it in that sense. Then the small things paper about the small changes, the small causes of change. It's not, the small things, which of listing of the in Aristotle's book 5 about the causes of why stasis and revolution happens. The theme of that in the middle of chapter 4 of book 5, um, which is kind of like this four themes that have not been already addressed of the causes of this. And actually, then the other thing is of force and fraud, and persuasion, force, and fraud at the end of chapter 4, book 5, which is the unique thing of argument that was brought in there about how and how there's the use of force. And in fact, this is very shocking that Aristotle in the politics only there at this moment at book 5 deals with this theme, which sounds very Machiavellian, the discussion of force and fraud, force, deception, fraud, force as a means of policy. This is, oh my God, I thought Aristotle was only about deliberation, but force and fraud as well. And and may be justified too. There's not force and fraud is always unjustified. Maybe force and fraud may be right or just in that sense. So that's an interesting problem in that sense. It's not merely a deception of this is done for the sake of of corrupt orders. Yes, it may be in response to a population that is corrupt, right? In that sense, a population that's corrupt, and when you're dealing with bad people, you might have to use force and fraud to get them to do the right thing. Okay, to do what is right or what is just in that sense. So therefore, that is a very interesting problem, and the problem of consent, and that would bad people consent to do what is right? The answer is no in that sense. So therefore, consent cannot always be the basis of justice in this sense. So it's it's a very interesting little theme that needs to be fleshed out more. And it's almost done too, but that's the things. And I have the honestly, I need to finish. I need to go back to the Politeia discussion, not Politeia, the discussion in the discussion in book 5 about the role of regime, Politeia, and as a variable. I have a manuscript draft is done. It's done. I need to go. I got some comments from the paper I gave in April. I need to go flush it out a little bit. Then I need to, what else? What is the research I have to do? I need to finish the mechanisms of preservation in book 5, politics 5, 6, books 7 and 8. Yeah, 7 and 8. Books, chapter 7 and 8. Book 5, chapter 7 and 8. The instruments of preservation. How to preserve regimes in that sense. Which is I already have a nice chart of that. It's okay. It's in the notebook of Aristotle's Politics, but also online. I have a nice chart of all this. I think it's 15. I think it's 10 originally 10, and then it's well, I forget. I'm not. I mean, I can't pull it off the top of my head. I only mention it now as kind of the thing I need to do in that sense. And then I need to deal with the last two aspects of book 5, which is the chapter 10 and chapter 11 about uh, what I call Aristotle's Prince, which is the discussion of how to, what are the causes why kingship, and the question of change and preservation in monarchy. Okay, remember monarchy. Both monarchy consists of both kingship and tyranny. So the causes of revolution and kingship, and then the revolution and change. That's book 10, chapter 10, not book 10, but chapter 10 of book 5, and then chapter 11 is about preserving kingships and tyranny. And there's two. In fact, there's two. The preservation of kingship is a short, part. The remaining part of chapter 11 is mostly preserving tyranny, and there's two types of preserving: the standard way, and then Aristotle's new way. which is interesting in that sense. And it's also interesting that it is in discussing preserving tyranny, one needs to throw, you have the word, and actually this is something that, what's his name, Michael Davis, no, Steph better than Michael Davis pointed out, that the one of the words for the word for change, and not chance to happen, the word that's one of the most common words, used words in Book 5 of the Politics. The Greek word that's used for to happen, which means a chance, right? Something that happens should happen by chance, and fortune. It's like fortune in that sense, right? Fortune or luck in that sense, chance. That word disappears, and that's very interesting. That when you start talking about preservation, preserving tyranny, then all of a sudden chance disappears. Chance disappears. Luck this has to disappear. You know, and this echoes kind of maybe the Machiavellian theme of the need to conquer fortune, right? The need to conquer luck and fortune, um, and the conquering of fortune. Okay, conquering or controlling it, right? So there's very Machiavellian undertone that not necessarily openly saying it, but the fact that in the language itself, all discuss of occasion and luck disappears, which is highly problematic, or problematic in the sense that in politics, that how can politics is about occasions, chance. You can't escape that. So therefore, the discussion of preserving tyranny is contextualized in a discussion where all chance, all the possibility of chance, and the role of chance has been eliminated. And that's a very interesting thing to develop in that sense. Some people say that's a book, and really that's a book, and that can't be just one chapter. That might have to be two separate chapters, not just one chapter. Um, some people say it should be a book on its own. In fact, that to what degree is that these two discussion here a the theme of this? It's a problem. This is why I've been doing this damn book for 10 years, over 10 years, decade, because book 5 is very frustrating. The translations of it really does not do service to all the kind of subtlety that's there in the Greek text. The depth that's even in there in the Greek text. That if you pay attention to the language, you notice in the Greek language, the Greek text will highlight different meaning. Like this is why the normal translations of metabole is revolution, right? But it means change. It means metabole is more. Yes, it can mean a political revolution in that sense of change from one regime to another type of regime, right? But it's not simple. And in fact, the term revolution, as I talked about in other videos and other things, the term revolution is kind of deceptive in this sense. So that's what I've been up to and why I'm not been up to writing that much when I'm doing my research and thinking about what I've been reading. Okay, I a friend of mine, because of that what's happening in Israel, got Mike. I mean, my God, Charles Murray, no, not Charles Murray. Douglas Murray has been hitting, and I follow Douglas. He's a public intellectual, not really a thinker. I mean, he doesn't really. I mean, he's interesting. I'm, yes, he's kind of a neocon. He's not really a neocon. Um, he was part of the. He has kind of like that new atheist wing thing, but at the same time, kind of more respectful, more conservative of the new atheist in that sense. He was younger generation. He was very much rise at 9/11, so anti-terrorism. He has lots of Jewish friends, and very very well read. He's very much influenced by Nietzsche and literature and things like this. His first love was probably poetry and literature, not really politics. He's a very good debater, not a debater, but a very good arguer and rational. I prefer him. If I'm going to have a choice between get one of these, if I have to have a world, I don't. I loathe I loathe what's his name, Ben Shapiro. I just loathe him. Now some people, oh, yeah, it's just because you're anti-Semitic. No, I am not anti-Semitic in this sense. I just he's just everything about him just makes me just want to root. He is the worst. He is a kind of stereotype of that. It just I mean, I prefer Dennis Prager. Dennis Prager is like more sane and more moderate, and not. And it's the vindictiveness and it's the kind of attitude about him, not Prager, but of Shapiro that I just despise. And his money, in his vicious way he does business, and the way he creates anti-Semites. To be honest with you, I think in many ways the Ben Shapiro control over some conservative move groups in the early thousands is what created someone like which turned the heavy-handed Israel like lobbying is radicalized people like what's his name? Oh, come on, that young boy. He's now not nice in his 20s now, but F F F. No, the American First guy, the Groyper movement, Fuentes. Fuentes. If you look how Fuentes was radicalized, yeah, he was influenced by the kind of we can say the Ann Coulter, Sam Buchanan attitude. Okay, he was just kind of like this. But then what happened was the heavy-handed way the youth movement and how he was treated in his time as a recruited for college because of his name, right? That okay. Of course, the conservatives would look to someone whose Latin name, and therefore oh God, they take this is and actually the same thing with the whole Candace Owens flat blow up in at Daily Wire, right? That oh my God, Candace said Candace was friends with even Kanye West. I mean, he goes, oh, but he's an anti-Semite. Yeah, you know why he's an anti-Semite? Because he's had bad experiences. God, yeah, if you have bad experiences, particularly people who are not we tend to do that. If we have bad experience, we generalize, we do bad things, we stereotype. People do this. It's not good. It's not right. Is he saying that? I don't think someone like either. I don't think whatever he's called himself, the black actor I just mentioned, singer. Is he actually calling for the genocide of Jews? No. He just says, listen, they have too much influence. Well, that's not an unfair question, but there is sensitivity to that. And even when the what was so shocking about the interview with Tucker Carlson with Carney Odom, where they said, "Well, where were you? Where was the Ben Shapiro's who about the creation of the white anti-white attitude in academia. Yes, they attack the wokeness and the socialism, but do they defend people? No, do they oppose immigration and the right to people? No, because so therefore there is this idea: where have you been on these issues? You've been missing now. When these guys are coming after you now, you're saying this is the sad aspect of this debate. Now, I prefer Doug Murray in this thing, and Doug Murray's writing on this, and his style of responding, and his honesty about it, and his honesty of the logic of what's happening. Once you've used all this nonsense of colonizer and oppressor because of colonizer and colonized. Well, do you want to apply? As he wonderfully Douglas Murray? Well, what do you call immigrants? Aren't they colonizers? Indigenous peoples versus colonizers. Well, he said, and do you really want that question to be raised in Europe? Really? I mean, Douglas Murray's line there has been fantastic, and therefore I kind of a friend of mine made me get. I had one of his books. I have I had read the not the middle book about the madness of crowds. I've read it, and a friend of mine gave me sent me the three, all his paperbacks because they're paperback now. Uh, the War in the West, and the current one, the off, and I said, okay, they're nice. They're public intellectuals. It's not a debate. Is it serious stuff that I'm going to say, talk about to people? No. I just wanted to mention that this is one of the things I read. And because of, by the way, because of something Charles Murray said, not Charles Murray, sorry. Okay, not Charles Murray, the genes, IQ. I don't. I've read Charles Murray. I still like him a lot, even though he's anti-Trump and he has this kind of, hostility to some aspects of the right, and he doesn't take his own position logically to the extreme, to the path it does lead to, because he's a good liberal. He doesn't want to do this. This is the point where good liberals will just they cannot take the logic of what their own science takes them to. But Douglas Murray, in an interview with a couple people, talked about Vasily Grossman's work. And because of that, this Russian Soviet writer, Russian Soviet Jew, whose great memoirs of his novel that he wrote is Love and Fate. I forget the book. It's like the whole story, and I read it. I got it, and I started it. I'm not gonna. It's like Tolstoy. It's like God. Um, and another shorter book by posthumous book by Vasily Grossman, who they say that this is the idea of both the question. Now, for him, it's the question of anti-Semitism in Russia. That's why Murray talked about saying that Murray uses saying, "Listen." Was responding, reading, because he's Russian literature. Again, this is interesting because remember, this is where both someone like Douglas Murray and Jordan Peterson intersect with Russian literature. It's like the depth of Russian literature. And something like Vasily Grossi, though he's a Marxist, he's a true believing Leninist. He's a Jew. And then when only when Stalin turned on the Jews did he finally realize what's going on. This is the problem. This is, true believers only change when they're turned on, and the thing that the revolution turned on them, and then they realize it was bad. Right. This is this is that moment when the left. And maybe this is the neocon identity, right? There is an aspect of what we call neocons or leftists who who finally see the fault of the revolution. Okay, now I'm not going to there's a validity in that. Now the question is how far are they going to go? The problem with most so-called people of this move, they don't go far enough, and they see the error, they see the mistake, but most of them can't really reject they either were liberals or they were radicals. And what happens is if they were they either they abandon ship completely and join the right and embrace the right, like some have, but or do they keep aspects of uh, 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 liber, uh, their liberalism and or try to maintain it, and try to just only moderate it, and therefore don't really see the connection between what they despise, the radicalism and the betrayal that they despise, and the very principles that they hold true. That's the difference in that moment. And there is that problem among neoconservatism in that sense. Um, and if you listen, Doug Murray has been interesting because he's been going places, and I even see this as interesting. He has gone places that I didn't think he would go. Okay, on nationalism and identity, that he would, like, even the willingness to get rid of people, get rid of deport the Hamasites and the people supporting Hamas. That we don't want them as fellow citizens. I mean, this is true. I mean, but it's cancel culture. No, no, no. We have a right to. I mean, there is a moment where communities have a right to police themselves. Who are we going to live with? Who are we going to live with? The open society, we should let everyone do it. But the problem with the open society is that not everyone's going to be open. So that the famous Locke situation is that we should not tolerate the intolerant, right? That's the Locke, and we should be tolerant, but that we should not tolerate the intolerant. That's Locke's famous letter on toleration, the logic of it. But the problem with that is a contradiction, right? If everything's openness, then you open yourself. If you're consistently tolerant, then the open mind becomes some open and it collapses. It can't support itself. But so therefore there is always going to be this tension between openness and closedness that really always will define this, and that's been interesting to see Douglas Murray struggle with that in his defense of the West, in that sense, and attack on things like BLM and the betrayals, the shocking revelations of the lies about Floyd that's come out. The fact he was arrested he was arrested that the Minneapolis police actually a year before arrested him for drug distributions and was an active suspect in a drug distribution. In fact, he in his arrest a year earlier, the his behavior was identical to the behavior that was shown there. His odd behavior, and that and that how the camera footage, the complete camera footage, was not shown to people at the arrest. So only selected aspects of the camera filmage and misreporting. So, I mean, I suspect there's going to be a new trial, or at least an overturning of the convictions of the policemen, um, based on the revelation, and that witnesses, the police commissioner, and those people committed perjury, and it's now evident that they did. So again, this has been the whole BLM reality, the lies of BLM, and how it's a dogmatic, and the connection of BLM. That BLM all of a sudden now celebrated Hamas's genocidal action in October, in early October, October 7th, October 10th, October 7th, I think, October 8th. With the BLM chapters embracing it, and they're joining the connection of the pro-Palestinian and BLM together. This is that weird aspect of the woke, the feminist, the trans actors, the feminist trans BLM, and this intersectionality, revealing their inner Nazi. They're revealing their real character, and that's the glorification of child murder and rape. This is what they are in that sense. How vicious their ideological souls are. They're monsters. They're not human in that sense. They're ideologically possessed monsters. And this is what you deal with when you deal with the ideological. They're no longer truly human. They're monsters. They're like the SS, the Nazi, the Soviet man, the Nazi, the woke. They're all this kind of possessed by a inhumane ideology. So okay, we talked about this for a half hour. We're over that. What else have you read, Bates? Okay, this is a new book. I'm still waiting. I got the bad news. I thought it was going to happen in January. The new translation by St. Augustine's Press of Collage's The Ancient City was finally done. I've been waiting for 2.5 years. They said it was supposed to be released last year. Finally released last year. Didn't happen. This year it was going to be released by end of this year. No. What's St. Augustine Press? Get off your ass and get what's going on. Why it's taking so long? This is ridiculous. I want to get the new translation of Coulange because I can always read the French. But the new translation of it may be useful to go to see how. If I think if I'm going to teach Coulange, I would like to teach Coulange. Yes, there's a good translation by John Hopkins, but it's a little old, and I think there's misunderstandings. And I want to see if the new translation catches what I think I see, and therefore I don't have to correct the translation, in class or something if I ever teach again. Um, Then there is the new book by Brooke Mandeville and Josiah Ober. Josiah Ober is at Stanford. He's, his, my God, his books are hilarious. Not hilarious, they're great. The Greeks and the Rational, The Discovery of Political Reasoning, that was out recently. His book on the rise and fall of classical Greece. Again, that book is essential for the understanding of economics. Um, um, the Greeks and the Rational was last year. Brooke is a very book on Athenian, the origins of Athenian citizenship and the question of citizenship. Um, uh, a company of citizens, what world's first democratic teaches leaders about creating great organization. This book that he wrote again with Auber. Now, he is at, he's a McKinsey guy. He works at Brooke runs at McKinsey, and Ober is at Stanford, if still correct. Yeah. Um, now, Ober's was a he's written many books in classic scholarship in that sense. His classic book on uh, uh, democracy and knowledge, innovation and learning in classical Athens, right? Again, Princeton. But then the rise and fall of classical Greece, which is a classic book about economics in that sense, the world of economics. And he's been very good about the role of participation and understanding of political change. He has articles in the APSR and other things that are just, very good. He's a first late cast. He's at the end of his career in that sense. I think he's at least in his 70s, his late 60s, early 70s, I suspect. Um, uh, in that sense, Ober's work has been fantastic. Now, this book, again, it's going to be more designed to the academic, kind of neoliberals. Anne Marie Slaughter talks about this. Anne Marie Slaughter looking at past and present, future of democracy through the lens of civic bargain is both helpful. Manville and Oval combined a lively historical lessons with a practical way forward, lightning democratic towards darkness, or the idea. What's interesting is Helene Landemore, a French liberal, right? Helene Landemore, her last book is Open Democracy, right? Mandeville's new book offers new fascinating insight about democracy, both ancient and modern. They update the metaphor of the social contract to that of the civic bargain, whose terms are constantly renegotiated by citizens as the condition for their mutual flourishing. So this is the idea that this is kind of a rethinking of the. It's not the social contract. It's kind of arguing that the social contract is the wrong way to think of it. It's a bargain. And the bargain is towards flourishing, not towards sovereignty in that sense. So this is a very interesting book about this sense. As they say here, I mean, look at the question about they say democracy is trouble and everything, the crisis of democracy, the crisis of faith in democratic institutions, and the loss of faith in this, and how you have to restore it, mechanisms of how, again, the subtitle, how democracy survives in this sense. Again, it's kind of more mainstream, academic, kind of liberal in that sense, but not completely whack job. Okay, it's reasonable. It's in that sense.